Last week I shared my agreement with some of the ideas that John Eldredge shared in his book, Beautiful Outlaw, Experiencing the Playful, Disruptive, Extravagant Personality of Jesus. And like Jesus' remarkable personality, we talked about that he is playful, corny, he's fierce, he's impatient with all that is religious, he's kind, he's creative, he's irreverent, and he's also very funny. And so last week I concluded that, I'm quoting from John's book directly, that if you do not know the power of his indwelling life in you, and that life is shaping you, your personality, and healing your brokenness, and also enabling you to live as Christ or as Jesus did, then you have been plundered. And that was the strong point that we left with last week, to encourage us to find our path and become like Christ. So today we'll be talking, like last week we talked about playfulness, Beautiful Outlaw, part 1, playfulness. So today we're going to be talking about being disruptive as men. And so today I'll pick up the lesson from disruptiveness angle. And before I share my thought on Christ's invitation for us as men to be disruptor, I would like to first establish a quick basic foundation or foundational truth that I also learned from the book, that there is Christianity and then there is the church culture, and most times we get to confuse these two. So Eldredge gave such a beautiful point in the book in helping us to differentiate between the two. And so when we look at it, that the personality conveyed most time through most of our Christian culture is not the personality of Christ. And so it's more about the percent of people that are in charge of the culture or the movement. And so most times it takes that shape and people begin to accuse the church or the Christian church or movement of that, oh, they are not being honest or they are hypocritical. So you need to differentiate that, and there's the church culture and there's also Christianity in itself. And for years, most times we look at men and women dressed gloriously, look at the high speaking bishops or the televangelists, and all with their pulpit. We go to the churches, we see the reverend and all of the people, the high standing big church in Vatican and everywhere, all over the world, and we confuse them to be Jesus. We confuse them, that we think that that's how Jesus looks like. But sorry guys, that is not how he looks. So taking this question, John Eldredge shared a lot of it in his work, and it is always very, very important that we remember that we should not confuse that Christian culture with Christ. And is this, we also need to always ask ourselves this question whenever you come in contact with the church you are going to, or you come in contact with somebody that presents themselves to say, oh, we are Christians. So you need to always ask yourself this question, is that, is this true of the personality of God, or of this person is showing you the personality of God that is about the wind and the desert, the God of the sunshine, the open sea, the person that created this beautiful universe? So they really show something that really shows that they're acknowledging that is the one that makes the beauty that we are saying. And now, so to now narrow down into the disruptive nature that we're speaking on today, unfortunately, we so live in a generation where we're invited to always be self-conscious of everything that we do, and that we hide the truth from people around us. Sometimes when you're around people, so no, be nice, don't say this. So sometimes when we have conversation, we have this conversation as intervention. We're not so honest with people, and sometimes they confuse us with some of these things and tell us that, oh, speak the truth in love, and which is very, very good. But sometimes in the name of speaking the truth in love, we sugarcoat things and we don't tell people the truth, and it's causing a lot of issues. And all around us now, we have people that are full of pride, bigotry, self-righteousness, and even intellectual elitism. A lot of people that feel so proud of themselves, so pompous, and they cannot humble themselves. But because you are scared of telling them, and you are afraid of helping them, you don't tell them the truth. And this is, you don't want them to do your message you like to share with them, and most times you just hide away. But being honest has a cost. And so sometimes I understand, and Eldredge was also sharing in the book, that sometimes a lot of us don't want to miss that space that we have with them, that dinner seat. We don't want to miss that outing, those vacations we share with our friends. We don't want to miss it. But unfortunately, we have to think about beyond just the warm reception that we receive for them. That they will not invite us again, or will not get the choice seat. We want to redeem their soul. And so instead of telling our friends how selfish or self-centered they are, you carry the burden of maintaining the friendship. And so, but for us to become disruptor, we need to change that mindset among us. So you don't have to always carry the burden of a relationship. You know that yes, they're not doing the right thing, but you're afraid, and you also hide that, oh, Christ was. Sometimes we will quote 1 Corinthians 13 and use this place. We say, oh, Christ was silent as a sheep to the slaughter, but it's the same Jesus Christ that takes out the money changers from the temple. It's the same Christ that calls some people brood of vipers. So you can see that it's the same that says, he went to his disciple, for how long will I be with you? You cannot cast out this person. He was kind, he was gentle, but he also knew when to tell the truth. He was also a disruptor. And so Jesus was what? Well, what we call like a sharpshooter. He was a straight shooter. He brings out all of that. So what are we learning from his lifestyle? So I'm going to quote directly from John Walks, the Beautiful Outlaw. This is what John said. John said, the man shoots straight. So he was referring to Christ here. Sometimes he is playful. Sometimes he is fierce. The next moment he is generous. This is the beauty of his disruptive honesty. You can count on Jesus to tell you the truth in the best possible way for you to hear it. So, and that's it. That's the call. So you worry, your worry might be, how do I maintain my cool? And so now you might be saying, okay, how do I say this truth in love, like they usually say always? Jesus never spoke nonsense, and every time you see him, he never sugarcoat. It was a very, very brutal and honest fellow that he has freed humanity. And thank God for Christ. If Christ was not brutal and honest, you and I would still be under the weight of religion. You and I would still be, a lot of people will still choose to be under the weight of religion. Despite Christ coming to free us, religion, no matter the kind of other religion you have in this world, that you operate to do that, if you don't come to believe that truth of Christ and what he teaches, you're just still under that deceptiveness that he came to free us from. So imagine that Christ did not say all of the truth he said when he was here on earth. You still be under the burden, you cannot do this, you should not do that. And even despite Christ came to free us, there's still a lot of oppressive culture in the church, in other religion, that oppresses women, that oppresses young people, that even oppresses men, that keeps us under the bondage of the so high class people, those people that high sounding spiritual leadership. And so you see why we have to become disruptor. So our conviction must be a matter of, we agree, conviction is a matter of personal opinion, but truth is a great mountain. Yes, every time they'll tell you, conviction is personal, don't say anything. But as a disruptor, yes, we agree, conviction is personal, but truth is never personal. Truth is a great mountain that is solid, immovable. You will always see it around us. And so either you acknowledge it or not, it will still be there. And that is what Christianity is supposed to be. Christianity is not a set of conviction. It is a truth. It is the truth. And so it's the most offensive thing on earth. And that's a lot of people feel offended by it. And so, as I begin to round up my thought gradually on this book that we've been revealing since last week, and what we can take away as men to look at it now. And so for us to become the men after God's heart, what God wants us to be, we must never protect our reputation in honor of the truth. And I think most times, because we want to protect our reputation before our friends, before our family, before even our colleagues, and so most times we don't want to say the truth. So disruptiveness is calling us as men to overcome the fear of men, to overcome the fear of peer pressure, to overcome what we others says. And what I know, so a lot of women who also listening to this podcast is the same message. So you need to get to that point. That's what disruptiveness is saying, that you have to overcome the fear of men, the peer pressure, learn from Christ. And Eldredge drops off a reflective list, about the man Jesus, and which is where I'm going to be ending today's podcast and our conversation on the book Beautiful Outlaw, experiencing the playful, disruptive, and extravagant personality of Jesus. And I will call on you too. Just please take some time. You can come back and listen to this list again and let it spur you into action. So this is just like a summary list of Jesus' timeline with us and how he was indeed a disruptor and what made him so a beautiful outlaw. And so on point, just imagine on the beach catching the boys fishing when Christ caught them fishing. Also imagine Christ in the temple clearing it. He was clearing the temple. Also imagine touching men and women with leprosy after a famous sermon. He was healing them. Just imagine him getting infuriated by the Pharisees when they said, why was he healing on the Sabbath? Imagine with me, on a midday when Christ was sitting with the Samaritan woman. Just imagine that Christ. Also look at him at the tomb of Lazarus. Look at him at the tomb of Lazarus, calling back Lazarus to life. Also imagine when he lost his cousin John the Baptist. He also experienced grief like us. Imagine when he was late at the reception in Cana and what he still did there, the wonderful miracle. Imagine him having dinner with Martha. And just look at him, learning how to use a hammer and a nail, because he was a carpenter. He worked for a couple of times in his life. Just imagine that. So imagine all those miles he trekked. Then there was no car, there was no private jet. He walked with his foot around everywhere. He covered his mission. And now imagine him at his trial. Just imagine him at his trial and his torture. And when he died, when he resurrected, also imagine him when he walked with those guys on the way to Emmaus. And the Bible says, no, they felt it, it made them understood the scripture. So just imagine. So friends, this is what we mean when we say Jesus is a beautiful outlaw. So come back again, look at this list and be inspired and be challenged to do much more like him. Like I said when we started last week, I would really encourage you to get yourself this book, and you'll be glad that you did. So see you again next week. We'll begin to review a new book. I will not tell you. Just check up again on this channel. You'll see the new book that we're reviewing. But as you go, I charge you, remember, Christ was playful and he was also a disruptor. So what are you disrupting in your relationship as you go this weekend? What are you disrupting in your life as you even listen to this podcast? So until see you again, God bless you. Bye-bye.